thank you so much. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you so much, Javier and Industry 4.0 for having us today. We've heard a lot this morning about cybersecurity and infrastructure and preventing attacks. I have the distinct honor for the next half hour or so to talk about a slightly different topic, which is about leadership. None of this happens without the leadership of people and the conviction of people to implement these best practices. So as mentioned, my name is Katie Stebbins. Not only do I work for the University of Massachusetts, but I'm honored to be president of the board of Global Epic. We are a consortium of 27 countries committed to cybersecurity around the world and cybersecurity ecosystem building. So I have with me today two unbelievable leaders in cybersecurity, and we're going to get to have a conversation with them about what it takes to build a global ecosystem in cybersecurity, local ecosystems in cybersecurity, and what does leadership mean to all that. So I have with me Godfrey Gaston, and I have Roni Zehavi, two people who I'm honored to call colleagues and friends. And I'm going to walk through a conversation with them so you can learn more about our global ecosystem. Economic development traditionally is about building your competitiveness, hanging your shingle is the best. Global Epic and what we do, though, is not about competing. It's about sort of putting down our swords for the moment and working together and collaborating. Talk a little bit about how the collaboration between economic development adversaries can help build this cybersecurity community in our world, and how you've seen that working.
So I think some of this goes back maybe to the genesis of Global Epic, and and Roni and I met a number of years.
Tell the genesis story.
Yeah. So I think that kind of feeds into your question. So a number of years ago, I had the pleasure of meeting Roni in Israel, and what they were doing there in the ecosystem, and how that had grown significantly in the desert and mushroomed and had that great thriving cyber ecosystem. And then I kind of came back home to Belfast and realized, we can do something similar, and we should actually share ideas, and if we got together, then surely we could help each other even more, and we started talking, and then we had a mutual friend in Canada, and we started talking, and then kind of Global Epic was born, and we realized that if we could come together and use the power of the network and be able to share ideas, share resources, share skills. We're doing the same kind of things. Maybe there's things that are different in Israel than in Belfast or in Boston. Could we actually come together for greater good? And there is a word which our friend Canada in Ottawa used, which was glocalization, which is if you change the B to a C, and I quite like this because it was kind of we're working together globally, but then there's a local element to that, so glocalization. And so very much we're all working together and collaborating together, and to your point, but at the same time, by coming together, we all benefit in our ecosystems locally. So by collaborating with Boston or Israel or San Diego or whatever, we can help each other's ecosystems, and we can together grow. And I think that's a really, really important point, because at the end of the day, it isn't about competition, as you say. It's actually about the sum of the parts is greater.
Yeah. Hey, Roni, do you think that's because there's so much to be done? I mean, if we look at cybersecurity and everything we've heard today, and we've heard over the last few days, is it because there's so much room at the table? The table's so big that competing really doesn't make any sense. There's just a lot of. Do you see a lot of opportunity here that's untapped?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a combination of a lot of things to be done with a very short time to do them. And I think we already feel that we are very much behind. I would compare it, for example, to aviation safety. I've known the aviation industry quite good because I've been there for many, many years. And what is very interesting is that aviation has been considered as a dangerous thing to fly since day one. So safety has been developed hand by hand with the development of technology. And safety is not only technology, safety is paradigms and methodologies and training and simulation and so on and so forth. What happened in cybersecurity is that the technology has been developed very fast, without any awareness of all the risks that come with it. And then suddenly we realize that there is a very major problem and we have to fix it while we are being attacked a million times a day. So the question is, how can you address that challenge, realizing the fact that there is a lot to be done, like you say, Katie, and a very short time to do it. And the only way to do this is through information sharing and through working together between locals, generating the global. So, for example, if we take the Basque cyber ecosystem, if they have the opportunity to look around and see what is being done in Belfast and in Ottawa and in Boston, in Beersheba and in Taiwan and in many other places and vice versa, they can look around and say, that is very much relevant to me, that is very much relevant to me, that is not so much relevant to me, because there is a major diversity between all the members. It's different culture, it's different language, different regimes, some of them are under the university, some of them are under the industry, some of the ecosystems are under the government. But generally speaking, if you can share that information in terms of how to build it, then you can get much faster to where you want to be.
Yeah.
The rest is good.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of Global Epic, how would you go into an environment where maybe you have a leader, but there's really nothing else? Or you have someone who thinks, I'm passionate about this, I think I should lead in this, and I think my city or my region should be doing something about this. How can Global Epic play a role in helping to evolve those ecosystems that are just starting, the ones that we would consider nascent? I think like Kenya is a country we've been working with.
Yeah.
What is the role we play in those places?
Okay, I'll take the lead, being a leader. So going back to Global Epic again, I think the diversity between all the members is critical, because you cannot come from the point of view, I'll speak from the point of view of Israel, you cannot come to a country like Kenya or Ethiopia or countries in Latin America and say, well, this is what we do in Israel, just copy paste it. You can do exactly the same, because it won't work. And the fact that in Global Epic we get exposed to so many models enable you to talk to new countries that come and say, we realize the need and the necessity to build a cyber ecosystem. How do we do this? And we can help them in showing them the first steps. One of the things that we do in Global Epic is called Soft Landing, which is a very interesting project in which industries from various ecosystems around the world can get hosted by other members for 3 weeks, for 4 weeks, get to know the arena, get to know the market, get to know what they are doing it. And just by information sharing and by working together and by talking together, they get the idea of how to do it, what should the first step be. The other thing is to get together with key stakeholders in the local area. So to talk with local governments, to talk with local researchers. Hopefully you can work with global industries. So if you talk with IBM or if you talk with a global bank like JP Morgan or Citibank, and they would have branches all over the world, you can facilitate that. So suddenly you have IBM in Costa Rica, San Jose, and they are very keen to get involved, and they know what IBM in Israel is doing and what IBM in Belfast is doing, so they can implement some of those, and they are already there. So they are excellent ambassadors. So by just taking already what you have, sitting together and say, you never start with zero, actually.
Yeah.
But you have to recognize what are the assets that you already have and start from there. I think very much that cybersecurity, generally speaking, is very much like healthcare. I don't believe in local in cybersecurity. I think cybersecurity, generally speaking, is global by definition.
It's global beneficial, yeah.
If we want to maintain our quality of life, our healthy life over here in Spain, we need to deal with it in Africa.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the hackers will always go for the weakest link. And if they want to attack JP Morgan, they're not going to do it in New York, they're going to do it in Nairobi. I'm not sure if there is JP Morgan in Nairobi, but generally speaking, you get the idea. So it's a global interest to make sure that the globe is cyberly secure. So not only are we doing this because we believe in wealth creation, we believe in economy development, we believe in talent development, but I think, generally speaking, there is a necessity here to make sure that our future life, which are going to be based on connectivity, are secure.
So, you know, if you happen to start with B, you're on a winner.
Okay, but that's not fair to some of our...
I'm only,
yeah.
only joking.
I was going to say Wales might have an issue with that. Okay, so are you there? Ruth was here yesterday. Yeah, there you go. See, Wales is there. They're in the back. Okay, so we want to end with, we mentioned one of our B ecosystem. We're here in Bilbao, and you know, Javier has been to Boston and visited me. We've been to Israel. We've been to Belfast. We've traveled around the world together, and now we have the privilege of being here in his ecosystem. So if you two could close for us by reflecting on this visit here and what we're seeing and your thoughts on this ecosystem. And Javier's leadership, by the way, which is amazing. That's to the point. Javier is the passionate maestro, right, that we all need.
So I think for me, the power of this is showing, and no, you know, we all come from relatively small, you know, Boston still is a relatively small region. Yeah. Clearly Belfast is tiny, you know, Beersheba is not large either, but at the same time, there's an opportunity on a global stage to actually have significance. So even though you're in a small region, the cyber world is still relatively niche. I know in one sense you think cyber is so vast, but actually it's still in other sense quite a niche opportunity. So what we're seeing, for me anyway, in the Basque region, that niche, particularly applying cyber to industrial control, to the energy sector, and so it's not just growing the cyber ecosystem per se, but actually growing cyber to help the wider ecosystem.
As an enabler.
So I think for me that's what's really exciting about the Basque region is how, you know, they've taken that the strength that they have, but also applying the cyber element to that. And I guess to Roni's point, you know, each ecosystem is different, and I think that's the benefit of coming together, because we're all learning and sharing. And I think for me, the Basque have an absolutely perfect niche where they're able to do this in a way that probably very few other ecosystems around the world have been able to do. So, you know, I think that's exciting.
And everything that is being done here, I think there's something very unique about this event specifically, and that by bringing together industry and cybersecurity. We talk a lot about cyber by design. That becomes to be a very hot topic. And yet when you talk with engineers, nearly in every discipline, and they are designing the next generation product, they don't take cyber into consideration. And it doesn't matter whether it's healthcare or it's robotics or whatever it is. And I think one of the things that are remarkable here is by putting both of them together at the same space, where you have cyber companies, you talk about cybersecurity, and you have the industry, and you talk about robotics, and you talk about Industry 4.0 and everything else. That's an amazing tool for an engineer, for an R&D from each of those industries, to look at the neighboring booth and say, cybersecurity, I haven't thought about it. How can that be applied to me? And by starting that engagement, that discussion, you can actually say, you know what, maybe I should apply cybersecurity consideration in the first phase of the design, instead of designing the next generation product that's going to be completely hackable, and then you have to apply all those cyber products to secure the product. So that, I think, is something very unique. I haven't seen a lot of those, if at all.